Hello, everybody, and today I'm reviewing Ted, the series, episode 4. This is basically kind of like a parody of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Instead, it's like called Cars or like Bicycles or something. I forget the title of the episode, but it's something like that. But it's basically a Halloween special. It's basically where Belair is going to a Halloween party, but she can't go because she doesn't want to tell the Johnny's mom and dad, but she asks Ted to be a devastated driver. But Ted doesn't really want to do it because, I don't know, he just doesn't want to. Because he wants to play with Johnny when they throw eggs every Halloween at people who have what they think are lame costumes. It's a reference to Ted 2, where they throw apples at joggers. Like, it's meant to be funny. But after watching a horror movie Johnny and Ted were watching with Belair, since they rented one, it's this one movie where you can see someone's reflection and they're wearing like this blindfold. And this comes relevant later when Ted goes into the shower and he's singing. It's funny. And Belair's like, "Help me, be my designated driver," and it freaks out Ted. And he's like saying he's naked, but he's always naked, as Belair says. He says, but after Ted leaves the bathroom, he's got a towel on, and then he gets jump scared again by Belair, but isn't until while Johnny and him are smoking weed or something. They open a window, but they know it's Belair, so he opens a window. And Belair put a ladder up there and literally does the same thing, hiding up under the window, above the window. And then Ted's like, "All right, I'll do it." And so, Johnny can't hang out with Ted because they're going off to the party. And Ted and Belair are dressed up. So Ted's dressed up as an Ewok. And Belair's dressed up as Catwoman. And I just love the scene where the mom's like, "You guys look so adorable." And then she thinks it's Batman at first, but she says Catwoman. And it looks like the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman costume, which looks awesome on Belair. And I think she even did like a selfie with her costume and posted it on Instagram. But and they thought Ted was the Lawrence of Arabia. And Ted's like, "Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, Johnny, I'll be back by 9. And that's my Ted impression. But they leave the house, they take Belair's car, and they go to the party. And what happens is, they promise for Ted to not get drunk. But you know Ted. He, first doesn't give in at first after Belair introduces Ted to her friends. But what happens to Ted? He literally gets drunk and smokes weed with some girl, and then he's going all nuts at it, but it isn't until he realizes it's almost 9. And he tells Belair that they have to go, but Belair's like, "You're drunk." And Ted's like, "So are you." But they go to the car, but that's where they're encountered by one of Belair's college professors, speech impediment. But basically, the professor offers Belair to hang out and discuss his new book. And Ted's like, "No, he's a perv." And Belair's like saying it's an only opportunity to get the job for writing his next book. It'd be a big opportunity for her. So she decides to go meet him. And they do argue for some reason about salad. They even say they prefer to have steak on death row, but Belair prefers salad. It's like a stereotype. Like, for some reason, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but anyway, while this is all going on, John is lonely, but Susan feels bad for Johnny, so she decides to invite someone she knew from church. But once this person comes over, it's actually revealed to be a 30-year-old man who is he's actually kind of a little nuts. He offers John cocaine. Sorry, I said the hardcore drugs, but he shows them some very inappropriate drawings. I'll just leave it to your interpretation. But if you watch the episode, you'll see what I'm talking about. very graphic stuff. But, yeah, Johnny's a little weirded out by this guy because he's not his age and he's offering weird stuff. But isn't until later he finds him in his bathtub in the bathtub's covered in this lagoon. It's so weird. This is an odd character for sure. But he decides to leave the house. I do like the scene where John tries to be like, "Hey, Mom, this guy's weird." But then, meanwhile, at the house, Ted is getting suspicious about this offer, even though he's giving them alcohol, and he's just talking about the book, and he said he's heard about Ted. That will be relevant later in the story. But Ted basically wants Blair to get out of there so they can finally go home, but because of the drunk driving, they basically crashed their car. I don't know how they got to the college professor. This is a weird nitpick, but I don't know how they got to the college professor. It's perfectly fine. I guess they were careful. But they crashed their car, and they're kind of just angry. But it is until they get these Hot Pockets from the store, but they realize how burning it is, and they actually accidentally cause it to go on fire. But they only have one choice left to get home and get the car towed so they can get some insurance and maybe fix the car, hopefully, since they crashed it. And it does teach us about drunk driving. By the way, in real life lesson, don't drink and drive. That's simple. But anyway, they go back to the professor's house. But Blair's gonna look at her notes, the offer's notes. But he decides to lure Ted in, and Ted plays with his ping pong table, and he ends up accidentally breaking a painting. But it's revealed. We were thinking that the professor has a thing for Blair, but it turns out he has an obsession with Ted, that he literally put on a bear suit. And I do like the line where Ted's like, "What you got there? You okay?" And yeah, Ted's totally weirded out. Yeah, and this guy, he's like an early version of Donnie. If Donnie was successful, since I don't know. Yeah, by the way, we don't see Donnie in this show, but this is an early start to people being obsessed with Ted. And so it wasn't just Donnie that was obsessed with Ted. It was this college professor. And who knows what he was going to do to Ted. But it's interrupted when Blair walks in, and she's weirded out too. Then he's dressed up like a teddy bear. And he tells Blair to not tell anyone since it will ruin his reputation. But they may have to make a deal. They'll let him use his bike so they can get home. And that's what happens. We get this E.T. reference where Blair's on the bike in her Catwoman costume and Ted's E.T. It was like that in the Ted movie where they showed a picture of young John and Ted. But they ride home, and Johnny decides to go play with some eggs, but it was because Maddie, during his story, he gets bitten by a neighbor's ostrich, and the neighbor decides to say sorry by giving him the ostrich's eggs. And so Johnny, he grabs the eggs, decides to throw it at people. The eggs, something about them, they look kind of weird. But John ends up accidentally, he throws it at someone dressed like Batman, but he accidentally throws it at Blair and Ted as they're riding home, and he says they're sorry. But Ted says sorry he couldn't show up, and he says he was almost, I shouldn't say this on YouTube, but he was almost assaulted by the professor. But the episode ends with Ted getting back at Blair by doing the blindfold thing all the way earlier. And then the episode ends with giving him a Hot Pocket and her a Hot Pocket, and then it goes on fire again. But the big plot twist in this episode, I swear this is the biggest one. But as Johnny goes to the door, it's revealed that it's the kid that Susan was going to invite over. This was the actual kid. So who was this 30-year-old guy from earlier? Did he just walk into the house? I do like the line where Johnny's like, "Wait, you're the son?" Like, and the kid was like, I was told to go meet someone here. Like, it was crazy. So that was a crazy ending. This was a definitely crazier episode than the last episode. I don't know if I prefer this episode over the last one, but this is definitely a memorable episode for sure. I think the best part was like Ted having a moment with Belair. It references the Ted movies. I feel like this episode references the Ted movies basically more in this one. But a lot was going on in this episode, and that's what I respect about this episode. So I give it like a 9 out of 10. So I think the next episode, I think is episode 5. So that being said, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.